This is CBC Vancouver News.
I heard a crack, like glass breaking, and I heard what sounded like a whoomph sound and a big crash.
A wicked windstorm leaves behind a path of destruction, knocking out power to hundreds of thousands on the south coast. And preparing for the first flurries, a snowfall warning is in effect for Metro Vancouver. Plus,
we are paying for residents and not given the basic necessities.
a month with no heat. Tenants of a Vancouver apartment demand immediate repairs. Their landlord says they're working on it. Good evening, I'm Lien Yeung. Thanks for joining us. Homeowners are cleaning up the mess from last night's severe windstorm. High winds lashed the south coast, ripping out trees and knocking out power lines. More than 15,000 BC Hydro customers are still without power. At one point, about 330,000 homes and businesses were in the dark. And as Yasmin Gandam reports, prepare for more extreme weather. There's snow in the forecast.
Sharita Charles woke up to something she thought would never happen. This was her garden shed before the storm. And now, this is it.
The wind was going and I didn't really think much of it. And then about an hour later, I heard a crack, like glass breaking, and I heard what sounded like a whoomph sound and a big crash. And I realized something was going on, so I looked out the window to find this giant tree had come down and crushed our shed.
Charles says she has had branches fallen before in previous storms, but never anything like this.
The tree was kind of a problematic tree in that it was so big and had so many offshoots that kept coming, like big branches would come down quite regularly in the wind. But we didn't expect the whole tree to come down like this, ever.
Around 10:30 Friday night, high winds toppled trees and downed power lines. The hardest hit areas were Surrey, Victoria, Nanaimo, and Parksville. At the peak of the storm, Environment Canada reported wind gusts of 70 to 90 kilometers an hour in Metro Vancouver. Over 300,000 BC Hydro customers were out of power last night. Now, the company does say with snow expected in the forecast for the lower mainland, things may get worse.
We know if the snow is sort of that wet, very heavy snow, that also has a really, really big impact on healthy trees. So if the trees are unhealthy, it will also have a huge impact on them then too. So we've been preparing basically all fall for these types of events.
Scott adds the lack of rain over the summer and early fall likely contributed to the storm damage.
We do know that the drought-weakened trees have played a role in this. We've kind of had two back-to-back summers of extreme heat, and that's left a lot of trees out there quite susceptible to wind.
For now, residents like Charles continue to pick up the pieces from the damage done and hope there isn't a snowstorm on the horizon. Yasmin Gandam, CBC News, New Westminster.
Well, a snowfall warning is in effect for Metro Vancouver, with the snow expected to begin tonight. Environment Canada says higher elevations will start with some wet snow before an Arctic air mass settles over the region. Areas of higher elevation in Metro Vancouver are forecast to get up to 5 centimeters of snow. TransLink says it's preparing, bringing in extra staff and replacing articulated buses with 12-meter buses, which are better for slippery areas. Snow is also expected for Howe Sound and the Chilcotin, up to 20 centimeters. And with the stormy weather, the City of Vancouver is reminding residents to help clear your local catch basins to prevent flooding.
We have 45,000 catch basins in the city, and our crews can't be everywhere. And if it's as simple as sweeping the leaves away from the catch basin, we really appreciate that people can do that so that our crews can focus on other cleanup things that can't be taken care of so easily.
Volunteers in the Adopt a Catch Basin program met at Sunset Community Centre this morning. The city is encouraging residents to go to its website and sign up to adopt a catch basin in their neighborhood and keep it clear of debris. You can also name your catch basin once you sign up. The city says you can report issues to 311 or on their app. To some developing news, WestJet passengers are dealing with widespread delays and a growing number of flight cancellations. The company is experiencing a system-wide outage. WestJet's contact center is unable to access any travel bookings. Disruptions are being felt across the country. In an email to CBC, the company says it is working to bring back its systems online. It has not said, though, when service will be restored. Tenants of an apartment building on Vancouver's west side say enough is enough. They say they have been without proper heating for a month. The landlords, owners of Oakwind Realty, says they are working to fix the problem. But as Janella Hamilton reports, with the mercury dropping, the tenants are tired of waiting in the cold.
As someone who often works from home, Joshua Chartrand spends a lot of time in his apartment, lately layered in shirts and fuzzy blankets, surrounded by space heaters.
It's just totally uncomfortable. Like, nobody should have to live like that.
Chartrand says the boiler in his building broke more than a month ago, leaving all 10 units without heat. And weeks later, still no word on when it will be fixed.
We are paying for residents and not given the basic necessities.
The property manager, who's also a landlord and co-owner of Oakwind Realty, says the building is 100 years old. Because of its age, additional steps need to be taken before a technician can replace the boiler.
So we have ordered tests for the room because there may be asbestos, and we've booked an abatement company if there is, and then, following that, the boiler.
She says the boiler will cost around $60,000, and it's not a quick and easy purchase. Under the Residential Tenancy Act, primary heating issues are considered an urgent emergency repair.
We are treating this as an emergency, and it is going to depend on the trades that we have in place.
CBC News reached out to 2 different boiler technicians. Both said asbestos testing could delay repairs by a few days, and new boilers are readily available in BC. This lawyer, who advocates for tenants, says landlords are responsible for supplying an alternative source of heat while working to solve the issue within a reasonable time. Chang says every unit has been provided at least one space heater.
We've been supplied tower heaters, which only do so much, and you can only plug a few in before it breaks the circuit anyways.
In an email, Oakwind Realty instructed tenants to strictly follow the safety guidelines when using the space heaters, including turning off the heater when you leave the room or go to bed. Chartrand is considering going to the Residential Tenancy Board, but has been deterred by the backlog of cases.
So it still could be a number of months before that even would go to a hearing simply about an order for the landlord to repair the underlying issue.
Until heat is restored, Chartrand wants at the very least for his landlord to reduce everyone's rent.
And I was just told it's not approved and that maybe hydro could be subsidized in a way, and we had to be patient.
But with freezing temperatures right around the corner, Chartrand says residents can't wait much longer. Janella Hamilton, CBC News, Vancouver.
2 of the top 10 suspects in the Breakout Festival riot have now been identified. Investigators say they are going through hundreds of tips and expect to identify the 8 other suspects soon. Vancouver police released their images earlier this week and asked the public's help. In September, dozens of people tore down tents, threw garbage cans, and broke tables after the headliner rapper Little Baby said he was too sick to take the stage. Police say the damage caused was more than $300,000. BC Children's Hospital is seeing more visits to their emergency department, and the number of respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, cases, while low, is growing. Their emergency department now averages 142 to 150 visits per day. That's a 20% increase compared to this time last year. Most kids are admitted for viral illnesses, gastroenteritis, fevers, nausea and vomiting, and upper respiratory tract infections. But they're also starting to see an increase in RSV cases. Parents are advised to look for signs of difficulty breathing, grunting sounds, or if children are breathing really hard. Well, with Halloween behind us, those perfect jack-o'-lanterns met their fate today at the annual pumpkin drop on the North Shore.
We are donating all the charitable profits to our Men's Health, which is our Movember team. It's a great event for all our members to volunteer and come in and help out and show the community.
Joyous kids watched on as their pumpkins, big and small, were dropped from the 4-story training and hose tower. The North Vancouver City Firefighters Charitable Association organized the 9th annual event. They were also accepting donations for a second charity, Buddy Check for Jesse, aims to destigmatize mental health challenges. Looked like a smashing good time. Well, this one's for you thrill seekers. Playland will soon be home to Canada's fastest launch roller coaster. PNE is investing $9 million into a new state-of-the-art roller coaster. That's the largest single attraction investment PNE has ever made. The ride will feature an acceleration of 1.3 Gs, over half of what a Formula One driver feels when hitting the gas pedal. It will replace the recently retired red corkscrew coaster.
We couldn't be more thrilled to show that the future is bright, that we are investing back into Playland, and that we are investing back into the future of what families are going to come and enjoy at the PNE for decades to come.
Now, don't worry about the old Splinter Sprinter. The classic wooden coaster is not going anywhere. Playland says the new ride will complement Canada's top wooden coaster, which recently underwent a $1 million upgrade. Don't forget to turn your clocks back before heading to bed tonight. Tonight marks the end of daylight savings. At 2 a.m., remember your clock falls back by 1 hour. It does mean that the days will feel a little darker, but you do gain that extra hour of sleep. Well, a Point Grey grocery store is losing a beloved staff member. Top 10 Produce has been home to Chief Mouser and Maine mascot Mickey the cat. But a recent ruling from Vancouver Coastal Health has now threatened his future at the store, upsetting both staff and customers. Our Liam Britton with the story of the cat who currently can't come back.
Chin scratches, a pat on the head, and the occasional treat. Luxuries for any house cat, but Mickey isn't a house cat. His home is a mom-and-pop grocery store, and even though he sleeps about 16 hours a day, he always gets the job done.
He's just here for everything, for therapy for all of us, in this anxiety-filled time, and mainly he's pest control. So about 10 years ago, we were infested by mice, and without a cat here, we wouldn't be here.
So Mickey might be a star here at Top 10, but unfortunately he's run afoul of health authorities. And unfortunately for this black and white cat, the law itself is also black and white.
Vancouver Coastal Health said they haven't ordered Mickey gone, but he can't stay. Inspectors received a complaint. It said in an email, the operation of food premises in BC is a regulated activity under the Public Health Act, and an operator must not permit live animals to be on the premises. The use of live animals is also not a recognized component of an integrated pest management program. Our health protection team will be working with the owner to ensure they are in compliance. McDonald thinks it makes no sense.
So the sad part is that I think he's really connected with people and their hearts, right? So to see him go is quite devastating, right?
Whenever we would come by, we'd come say hello. Everybody, he's really friendly, so everybody likes to give him scritches.
On social media, users are mounting Mickey's defense, like Emily Black, a regular customer.
My boyfriend actually called me as soon as he left. He was like, Emily, you need to hear this. Guess what's happening to Mickey? And I was ready to do whatever I could do to make sure he can stay.
So, will the old song come true? Can the cat come back? Possibly, says Victoria Schroff. She's an expert on animal law.
And maybe also talking with the health authorities and seeing, is there a possibility of an exemption?
Meantime, Mickey has found new accommodations. He's going to live with McDonald from now on, not too far away. So while Mickey's working life might be over, he has 8 more lives to live in retirement. Liam Britton, CBC News, Vancouver.
Well, we've all seen vending machines for pop and chips and even some electronics. But how about one for cheese? 2 farmers in the Cowichan Valley are trying it out. Fix your cheese emergencies with this. Renee Davey and Henry Reekers run the Cowichan Station Creamery, and they pride themselves on doing things a little differently. They call the cows part of their family and want to change the perception that dairy farms harm their herd. And now they're being creative with the way they sell their products.
Somebody was up at the storefront and at 7:30 at night. I'm like, what's going on? Well, they needed cheese. And it was 7:30 at night. And I'm like, okay, go for it.
Yes, a cheese emergency. The machine is stocked with cheddars and Goudas, and you can buy with cash or credit card 7 days a week. Candidates are recruiting some heavyweight help days before the U.S. midterm elections. That story's next. With just days to go before the U.S. midterm elections, the Democrats are trying to hold on to their majorities in Congress and avoid having the Biden administration trapped in legislative gridlock. As Chris Reyes reports, candidates are recruiting some heavyweight help.
I am here to ask you to vote.
With Presidents Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Donald Trump all touching down in Pennsylvania on the last weekend before the midterm vote, it's obvious the state is a major battleground.
Your right to choose is on the ballot. Your right to vote is on the ballot. Social Security and Medicare is in the ballot.
The Senate race is tight between former Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman and TV star Dr. Oz, who's been endorsed by Trump, while on Friday, Oprah endorsed Fetterman. Oz first made his name appearing on her show. Trump's rally Saturday night comes after he teased yet again that he may run in 2024.
In order to make our country successful and safe and glorious, I will very, very, very probably do it again, okay? Very, very, very probably.
At stake on Tuesday, the Democrats' slim majority in Congress. Just a handful of seats could hand over control to the Republicans.
Tuesday, Republicans gain probably 20, 25 seats. Democrats probably hold on to the Senate.
Some key races that could decide control of the Senate: Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, and Pennsylvania. For the House, where Republicans are just a few seats shy of taking over, what happens in California, Iowa, Michigan, and Texas could be the tipping point. While candidates are campaigning on many polarizing issues, from gun control to climate to abortion rights, some analysts say it's the economy that will really sway voters.
It's all about the grocery. It's all about gas prices. It's all about feeling wretched in an inflationary way. And there's only so much that the administration can do.
We live in such pendulous and kind of polarized times that you can definitely see how a couple of seats change can swing the trajectory of America for the next few years.
Up for grabs on Tuesday's ballot, all 435 House seats and 35 Senate seats. Chris Reyes, CBC News, New York.
Meanwhile, Kentucky Senator Rand Paul is campaigning against that country's top infectious disease specialist, Dr. Anthony Fauci. The doctor is retiring at the end of the year. CBC's chief political correspondent Rosemary Barton spoke to Dr. Fauci about the divisiveness in American politics and why his name continues to be dragged into the fight.
Dr. Fauci, I know you're not going to answer a political question, but I do want to raise this because we are a couple days away from the midterms, and Kentucky Senator Rand Paul is fundraising off the idea that he is going to subpoena you to testify before Congress. I wonder how you feel about, yet again, the fact that your name has been drawn into the political arena at a time when politics is extremely divisive down there and even potentially dangerous. And I point to what happened to Nancy Pelosi's husband here. How are you feeling about being drawn into things yet again?
I am obviously dismayed by the degree of political divisiveness that we have in our country, which has really been, in many respects, driven by an enormous amount of misinformation, disinformation, and politicization of what should be a purely public health issue where we're all fighting together against the common enemy, which is the virus, and not using political motivations to be interspersed into a public health response. And I myself have been threatened multiple times, requiring my having federal agents to be with me all the time to protect me, which is really just such an extraordinary situation that a public health official, because that person says we should get vaccinated, we should be masking in appropriate situations, and we should follow good public health principles, that triggers such hostility in people that they threaten your life. I'm not the only one. I mean, there are many public officials, health officials in the United States, and I know from my colleagues in Canada, the same thing happens, that you get threatened because you're talking about things that relate to good public health practices.
And you can watch Rosemary Barton's full exit interview with Dr. Fauci on Rosemary Barton Live at 8 a.m. Pacific on CBC News Network, CBC Television, and on CBC Gem. A candlelight vigil was held tonight in South Korea's capital, remembering the victims of last weekend's stampede. Thousands attended. The event was organized by a civic group that had been previously staging anti-government protests. 156 people died when tens of thousands filled a nightlife district for Halloween events, and one crowd pushed into a narrow alley. And that's a look at how the morning started out here in Metro Vancouver. It was breezy, but the calm after the storm with all those blue skies. How does the rest of the weekend look? I'll have your full forecast next. Police in Los Angeles are investigating the death of singer Aaron Carter.
I ain't pulling you back when you feeling like that. I ain't tripping, get mad.
The former child pop star was found dead at his house in California. He is the brother of Nick Carter, a member of the Backstreet Boys. TMZ says Carter was discovered in his bathtub after a 911 call was made about a drowning. Aaron Carter was open about his struggles with substance abuse and had multiple rehab stays. A cause of death has not been released. Carter was 34 years old. Let's take a look at that forecast. And yes, there is snow on the way. So here's a look at your weather warnings. Everything in red, that's a snowfall warning. So for the Chilcotin area, expecting up to 20 centimeters of rain if you're towards Howe Sound and Metro Vancouver, up to 5 centimeters for higher elevations. The rest of those patches in white, special weather statements. So expecting up to heavy snow, anywhere up to 10 to 20 centimeters of snow for those areas. Your current temperatures, it's cool across the south coast. You can see at the airport 4 degrees, in the valley looking at 3. Your forecast across the province, a little bit of a mixed bag there. If you're in Dees Lake, looking at a -4. Prince Rupert, sunshine for you, 2 degrees. If you're in Prince George, looking at -11. Yeah, it's getting cool. -4 out towards the Okanagan. And in Victoria, looking at 8 degrees, a mix of sun, snow, a little, possibly even snow in the morning. If you're here in Vancouver, though, rain, snow mix in the morning possibly, and then in through Monday. That kind of continues as you head into the early morning hours. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, looking at sunshine. And that's your late news for this Saturday. Of course, don't forget, clocks go back an hour at 2 a.m. Thank you for watching. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Have a good night.